Good morning, everybody. Welcome to episode 3 of John's Ramblings. I'm here in the backyard of my mom's house in Orem with my cat, Indy, rolling in the dirt. And that's the grave of the other cat I had for 12 years, Aida, from 2006 to 2018. Anyway, I'm just out here while Indy wanders. Anyway, so I thought I would talk about some stuff. Mostly I'm going to be talking about Elder Holland's awful homophobic, anti-LGBT address to the BOU faculty from Monday. That's caused a lot of feelings on the internet this week, and I've definitely had a lot of feelings of my own, and I've been trying to figure out a way to make a Facebook post, but honestly I just want to talk to a camera and let out some feelings verbally. But before I do that, and also I might be walking around just to keep an eye on my cat so he doesn't jump the fence, but now he's under the shade of the apple tree just chilling. Anyway, what was I saying? I wanted to mention two things really fast. So episode 1 and 2 of John's Ramblings I made back in June, and I was going through a lot of really awful stuff then, and some of it I'm still kind of sorting through. So I don't know, I want to do more episodes of this and just talk about my feelings on camera. I'm not very comfortable and confident with this, but I think it's healing, but I also don't want to use it as something that makes me more depressed. And I think in June my mental health was at such a low place that maybe it wasn't the best to talk about things. I don't know, maybe it was a double-edged sword, but in mid-June I did have a near suicide attempt. I posted a suicide note on Facebook, just 2 words, "Goodbye world," on June 16th, and then I disappeared for like 9 hours, and a bunch of like missing person posts went out on Facebook, and that was really a messy, confusing experience and really traumatic. And so a lot's happened since then, good and bad, and I had another near suicide attempt in July, the beginning of July. But in general, things have gotten better. I'm not really here to talk about all of that today, but I just wanted to mention, for those of you that were concerned about me after episode 1 and 2, I'm sorry if I worried some of you. I am in therapy still, doing EMDR. I started that in April. Sorry, I'm trying to find my cat. There he is. I'm cat sitting while filming. It's fun because sometimes he does try to jump the fence and it's annoying. So I think he's hiding right there. You can't really see him though. Anyway, so okay, I'm already rambling, but that's the point of these videos, is anything goes, and rambling is totally welcome. Anyway, so I'm feeling a little bit messy coming back to this series because episode 1 and 2 were pretty triggering to film, and I felt like I maybe overshared a little bit, but okay, getting to the point. Actually, there's one other thing I wanted to talk about. So I woke up like an hour ago to a really awful text from a guy I was supposed to go on a date with tonight, and I'm feeling pretty hurt by that because that person was really special to me, and I'd already gone on 2 dates in July that went really well. And I don't know, I wasn't trying to, put any pressure on this, with, a possible relationship. I just really like being around this person, but I felt like I've been chasing them since the second date and giving them lots of date or hangout ideas, and I know they still care about me. I think they are just a little bit flaky with communication in general, and I can empathize because sometimes I'm the same, but they canceled last minute this morning, and it really hurt my feelings. And I sent them a honest but kind text saying, hey, like, they asked if we could reschedule, and I just told them, I feel like I'm chasing you and I'm giving you lots of options and giving you the time of day, and I can't keep chasing you, when I don't feel like a priority. And so that was hard for me to say because I felt like, I typically try to be meek and mild and turn the other cheek, but anyway, I just told them we'll be Facebook friends, and be kind. I'll be kind to you if I see you at LGBT get-togethers, but I just can't keep making time for you if you're gonna not make time for me. And so I'm feeling a little bit off this morning because of that, because that date was planned like a week and a half in advance. And I don't even know if they would have remembered about it if I hadn't texted them last night. I would have driven all the way from Orem to Murray for nothing. So anyway, I'm just kind of really tired of flaky guys right now, but I also, want to, I don't know, have empathy for people's lives. I think when there's just a pattern of flakiness, I'm not here for that. And so anyway, but it's also something I'm working on, because sometimes I have a hard time communicating with people. So anyway, so I acknowledge my humanity and the humanity of other guys that I go on dates with and stuff. But okay, so getting to the main point of the video, 6 minutes in. Oh my gosh. Yay for chaotic rambling. So I think I'm just going to list a bunch of adjectives to describe how I feel about Elder Holland's talk, just to kind of let out some feelings here. So first of all, homophobic. I already mentioned that. Dangerous, violent, insincere, misguided. Let's see, there's a lot more. Self-serving, self-righteous, embarrassing, shaming. Let's see. There's lots more, but there's a bunch to start with. I know many of you that are going to be watching this are still members of the LDS Church, and it's very taboo in the church to talk about church leaders, especially those in the first presidency or those in the quorum of the 12 apostles, like Elder Holland, in a negative way. But ever since leaving the church a couple years ago, I see the church very differently. I see it very, very much as a cult, and there's a lot of very, very problematic things about the church that I have concerns about, and I'm grateful that I left. The thing is, like, even, since leaving, words from church leaders that are anti-LGBT, or are marginalizing or condemning can still really affect me, because I spent 27 years of my life in the church, and words like that affect a lot of, or just hundreds of friends of mine that are affected by that intersection of LGBT and LDS. And yeah, I've had a lot of friends speak up in the last couple of days in a lot of different ways, some angry, some sensitive, well, I'm not saying being angry is insensitive, because I think anger is valid in this situation. I think this is one of the most hurtful things that's happened in the LDS, LGBT world. There have been a lot of other things over time. It's been a really messy, long history in the church with LGBT issues. But some of the more recent bombshells are like Proposition 8 stuff in 2008, the honor code issue at BYU March of last year, where they took out stuff and then people felt free to come out and maybe date the same sex, and then they're like, just kidding. And then the 2015 policy, which was also reversed. There's just been so much, pardon my French, so much fucking whiplash for our community that we're tired of it. And honestly, there are lives at stake. And what was so beyond awful about Elder Holland's talk was, well, everything. The analogy to musket fire, and just a horrible analogy to use when there's already, enough suicides in the LGBT community, especially within the church. And I've also struggled a lot in my life with suicidality. Some of the stuff that happened this summer had to do with a lot of other stuff, but some of it did have to do with, my faith transition still, and how difficult that's continued to be. And I think in this last year, I think a lot of anger has come up, and I think that's an important part of my journey with transitioning out of the faith in the last couple of years. I just think the more that I learn about the church or the cult of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the more that I'm just really angry, because there's a lot of corruption and there's a lot of deceit, and maybe it's not conscious all the time in the church, maybe the leaders really believe they're doing the right thing, but I see it as a corporation and as something that makes a lot of false truth claims, tries to whitewash their history. There's a lot of misogyny, prejudice against racial minorities, LGBT. There's just countless issues. Financial exploitation, self-righteousness. Anyway, there's a lot of stuff. And I'm not ashamed to say it. There may be some people that may be offended by that. But I honestly, that's how I feel. And I'm sorry if that hurts your feelings, but the LDS Church, I respect it very little now. There's a lot of good things that still come from the church, but in general, I think it causes way more harm than good, especially for people that don't fit the mold. And so, anyway, I have feelings, obviously. So I want to just let out these feelings in an honest way, but I also don't want to, I want to work on building bridges and spreading love. And I think Elder Holland's analogy of like using musket fire basically against the LGBT community, and those violent metaphors, like I don't want to send that back to the church, and yesterday I think I felt kind of the pinnacle of the anger as I was rollerblading on the Murdoch Canal Trail, which I'm also going to do today, just a different section of the trail. Back in April, I think I reached kind of a breaking point with my anger with the church, and I posted a picture of me flipping off the church, and that got a lot of mixed reviews from people on Facebook. And for me, it felt like an important part of my journey to process the anger. And the caption of the post said, "Today is just one of those days, #wasted 27 fucking years of my life in this cult." And I think since posting that, I realized I lost quite a few friends from that. But there were also people that were like, "Hey, this is part of your journey. Just don't get stuck in that anger." And I think there's wisdom in that. And I think yesterday I felt so fired up about just all the people that have been hurt by Elder Holland's talk since Monday that part of me wanted to like go to BYU and maybe take a picture of me flipping off a BYU sign, or maybe to temper that, maybe just like a thumbs down sign. And then I also, before I left the church, I was hanging on by my claws for many years, or by my fingernails. And I visited all the Utah temples for 4 years in a row. So that annual Utah temple tour is from 2014 to 17. And I took a lot of pictures in front of temples. Most of those trips I was just in the lobby and the grounds because I wasn't worthy enough to go in, because I was, I basically struggled with porn and masturbation since I was 12, and that caused me to be unworthy of a temple recommend for pretty much my entire church life from 12 on. And so most of those temple tours, like I said, were on the grounds or in the lobby. And so I took a lot of pictures in front of temples for those 4 years, and now I kind of wish I could go back and visit some of those temples and just like do the thumbs down. But I realized, that's not going to do any good either. So I don't know. I want to move forward, and I also I'm going to a 6-week faith transition support group meeting series in Holiday. It started last Thursday, and I'm going to go to another one tonight. And I also go to different LGBTQ events, and one of them is LGBT Sunday School, which I've gone to for a couple years, where LGBT people are welcome to come and kind of explore spirituality, and they can be in any part of the spectrum with faith. So I'm going to that on Sunday, and I think a lot of people will be talking about Elder Holland's talk. But anyway, to wrap this up, I just wanted to mention a few other things about his talk that I just thought they really struck a nerve, I think, for a lot of people. I think one of the biggest ones for me was that an apostle, like someone that has a lot of power, and influence. They picked on one of my friends, Matt Easton, who gave a valedictorian speech at BYU a couple years ago, and came out in that speech, and that speech was pre-approved. And Elder Holland had the gall to refer to that speech without using Matt's name, but still everyone knew who he was talking about, and he basically said, that's not respectable on our campus, for people to have an open mic to come out. And anyway, he basically was like, if people can come out at the microphone, then, then anything goes, So I think I understand Elder Holland was trying to kind of crack down on, all this LGBT support that's happening at BYU, and, wants to be more in line with the gospel doctrine about, it's okay to be gay, but it's not okay to act on it. And so, and I think, he was really pushing that, the gays have an agenda, and we can't succumb to that. And honestly, we don't. Like, we're just trying to love and be loved. And for as long as that I stayed in the church for 27 years, I really did everything I could to make it work. And in the end, it didn't work for me. Maybe for some people it does, but honestly, it did really increase my depression and suicidality to basically hope for a life of celibacy and loneliness, or try a mixed orientation marriage, which that may work for some people. I do not think that would work for me, because I'm definitely gay, not bisexual in the slightest. And so I don't know. I think one of the most important things, if not the most important thing I've ever done, is leave the church for my own well-being. And basically, I probably would have killed myself by this point if I hadn't left. And there were definitely many moments growing up, especially after I came out. I came out to parents at 15 and bishop and therapist. Then 19 was family and friends. And then 21 was on Facebook as like an active gay Mormon. And then I had to come out again at age 27 as like, I'm leaving the church and now dating guys. But I think the most vulnerable period for me was from age 21 to 27 when I was out. And I was active in North Star, which was like an LGBT organization that's very LDS affirming. And I, met a lot of people that were in the same boat as me, and I kept kind of falling in love with a lot of them. That was in many ways one of the big reasons why I left the church, is I just, in those scenarios, either them or they or I would choose the church over the other person, after developing feelings, and that would happen over and over and over. And I told myself, this is kind of the point I was getting to, that I'd rather kill myself than date men. And I think, I think there's a lot of people that feel that pressure from the church to, that they'd be so, I don't know, that they will be looked down upon if they date the same sex or enter a relationship or marry the same sex. And I think Elder Holland's talk really just opened up a lot of wounds, I think, for a lot of people. And I don't know, I just felt like he was trying to save face with, donors, and try to make BYU look really conservative again, and honestly, he's on the wrong side of this issue. Like, he's wrong. And, just as the church was wrong about blacks in the priesthood, eventually they came around. Like, I'm not saying, the church is going to change their doctrine about LGBT anytime soon. I don't really know if that's the case, but it's a very generational issue right now, and there's a lot of conversation happening. And if he wants BYU to take the course it's taking, it's going to be seen as very homophobic and very closed-minded. And, I understand the church has its doctrines and policies and stuff, but honestly, I think what really hurt the most is Elder Holland was one of my favorite apostles growing up, and he gave a lot of really beautiful talks, like about mental health, about Christ, and, even, I think, same-gender attraction. And I think a lot of people hold a special place for him, but I don't know, it just hurt to know that there's this really homophobic core to him. And I don't know, his emotion in the talk just felt very, very insincere. And, it was like, we've cried over this issue and prayed, and I don't know, and also just the fact that BYU opened like an office, or they're opening an office of belonging, and they announced that at the same on Monday as well. And then he has the gall to talk about all this just anti-LGBT stuff. It's wrong. It's wrong. And I'll attach some links below this video of some other articles or Facebook posts or YouTube videos I've watched. I first heard about this whole thing on Monday night when I went to the Encircle house in Provo, which is a wonderful, safe, accepting place. And it's really close to the Provo Temple, and I think a lot of people find refuge there. So I went to Friendship Circle, and there were just like 4 of us there. It was a gay male friendship circle, 18 plus, and for age 18 and up. And one of my friends, Kyle Ashworth, was there, and he's the host of the Latter Gay Stories podcast. And he was the one that kind of told me that this talk had just happened earlier that day. And he went on Mormon Stories podcast with John DeLynn and also a guy named Gerardo. I don't remember his last name right now. And I'll post that video because they talked about what happened on Monday. I think they filmed it on Tuesday. They talked about it, and they had a lot of really great points in there. And also one of my favorite post-Mormon YouTube channels, Zelph on the Shelf, Samantha and Tanner, they're very sassy, and they dissected Elder Holland's talk from beginning to end. And I also gained a lot from that too, because the whole talk was just disgusting. And so anyway, I'll link that as well for those of you that want some sass about this. And anyway, but I also really appreciate a lot of my friends' posts about a lot of different angles of this, because I think, you know, like I said earlier, I don't want to get stuck in like the anger, you know, or I don't want to shoot like musket fire back at the church. Like, I definitely feel like it's totally valid for me to say how I feel about the church, you know, and to stand up for what I think is right. And I think a lot of what's happening in the church or the cult is very wrong. And I think the more that I learn about or go down the rabbit hole of just all of the things that are wrong about the LDS church, it's important to me to talk about it and to spread awareness, because I wish that people had told me much sooner, and I wish that I'd listened to those that maybe had tried to warn me about those problems and the culty nature of a lot of stuff. But again, in the church, you're warned to like not trust anti-Mormon material or people, like, and honestly, since leaving the church, like, that's, I feel like, when my life began in a lot of ways, because I opened my heart and mind up to a lot of different kinds of people from different backgrounds, you know, in or out of religion, or some that, you know, never grew up in religion at all. I feel like I became much less homophobic myself. I think I was really afraid of LGBT couples when I was in the church, because I think I wanted that so bad, but I was afraid to be around couples because I thought they might be a bad influence. And honestly, I've met amazing couples since leaving, and I feel so devastated that I judged them that way when I was in the church. And I think, you know, if Elder Holland, you know, or people like him walked in our shoes for a day, they would understand the queer Mormon journey. It's a painful one, and we honestly don't need more musket fire. We just need more love, and we don't have an agenda. We just want to love and be loved. And I think having spent a lot of time at BYU during my life, I never was a student there, but I lived in BYU UVU housing for 7 years as I was a freelance pianist. And I also played at the BYU Skyrim restaurant for the last 10 years. And I still have a foot in the door there. And all of my family went to BYU schools. My parents met at BYU. You know, BYU is a really important part of our family, and I'm just honestly saddened and sickened by what happened on Monday, because it felt like in some ways we were making progress, you know, but in many ways it's not surprising, you know, even just what happened with lighting the Y on the mountain in rainbow colors a couple months back, like, you know, and the university being like, we didn't authorize that, you know, instead of just celebrating it for the beautiful thing that it was. I don't know. In some ways I feel like things are probably going to get worse, you know, and I feel like there's just a mass exodus from the church of LGBT people and their families. I think one of the things I have a really hard time with is that all of my family is still in the church, and I don't have an agenda to pull them out. But I think, in the words of my friend Mindy Gledhill, she's one of my favorite singers, and she's also become a post-Mormon over the last few years. I listened to her Rabbit Hole album a lot yesterday while rollerblading, and it's about her faith transition. She posted on Facebook this week and said, like, the best way that we can support our LGBT loved ones is to stop giving our time, energy, and money to organizations that continually oppress them. And I can't affirm that more. There's no words to describe how hurtful the church has been toward our community. And, I want to be loving and supportive to those my friends that stay in the church. But honestly, the church is very oppressive. Not only to us, but lots of other minorities. And I don't know, it's, so I'm just going to leave that there. I think, if I think the church is already declining at a rapid rate with membership, that I don't know how Elder Holland thought that his talk could help, with declining membership numbers. It's just going to get worse, because I think people are going to feel more and more divided over this issue. And, Elder Holland accused us of being the divisive ones, but honestly, I think the church splits families apart a lot. They say families can be together forever, but honestly, no. Families fall apart over the church and one of my immediate family members I've had a fallout with in the last year or so, because they did choose the church over me, and they told me, you're not happy out of the church, and I testify that Joseph Smith was a prophet, and that the Book of Mormon is true, and you need to come back. And I was like, no, I will never, ever come back to an organization that made me that miserable. No. No. And so I have had to set this family member aside, because they're so fixated on the church that, they don't understand. They're not putting themselves in my shoes and understanding that the church really doesn't work for a lot of people, and it really creates a lot more harm than good. Anyway, okay. I had a lot of feelings to say about this, obviously, and if I lose friends over this video, I do not care whatsoever. But I am, open to hearing your guys' feedback and comments about this video or about Elder Holland's talk. So leave your feelings in the description, even if you disagree with me, that's okay. I think my mom and I have had some talks in the last couple days about this, and I know she almost completely disagrees with me on a lot of stuff. But the wonderful thing about my mom is that she's held space for me, and that she hasn't cut me off, and I think it is okay to just agree to disagree sometimes. And so anyway, I hope that we can all continue having, honest and hard discussions about these topics, because I think the most hurtful thing is when people just are silent and they don't speak up, and they let the church continue to just do its thing and, hurt people. And anyway, but again, I want to also, temper my own feelings and find ways to love and support my LDS friends and family. It is really important to me to continue spreading love to those people in my life that are still LDS, whether it's liking Facebook posts of theirs, maybe mission farewells or homecomings, or when people visit temples, or I don't want to just be seen as the angry anti-Mormon gay guy. But thanks for being patient with me, because I definitely am on a journey, kind of untangling a lot of stuff. Things are really messy. My mental health is still under construction, and but it felt really good to talk to this phone about all my feelings today and just let it out. It felt it felt easier to do this than sit down in front of my laptop and try to make up a post about this. And I sometimes just agonize over the wording about things, and so sometimes just picking up a camera and talking to it is the best thing I can do. And I also look forward to going to the Faith transition support group meeting tonight and LGBT events and continue kind of processing my feelings. And I hope that we all can love each other and put down our muskets. And I hope you guys have a great week, and I will see you guys later. Bye.